Hands up if you're ready. Okay, we've got some people getting ready. So the trick is, when you get that coffee, you buy 2. And then you've got 2 coffees on your card. So that's a trick. So when I talk about, we're going to be talking about sales. And when I talk about sales, it's not to turn you into salespeople. It's to allow you to have better conversations and help other people understand your point of view so you can get them to say yes. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah. Great, yeah, see? So using, and this is a picture of Nick, by the way. That's what I've engineered up there. That's right. You look so young and polished. So using sales frameworks, it helps us with getting buy-in, winning work, proposing ideas, and getting people to take action. And so it could be clients, it could be colleagues, or it could even be your kids as well. So what we want to think about this as communication skills rather than turning you all into salespeople. But what happens if we get to the end of that communication process and they don't say yes? Then what do we do? We're trying to get an idea over the line, and they're supposed to say yes, and they go, I need to think about it. I need to ask my partner. Might be a little bit pricey. So today we're going to learn how to handle objections with confidence. So firstly, a quick recap on the basics of sales. And so for me, sales is all around communication. And learning better communication skills naturally makes us better at getting our ideas across. And so we want to help people make decisions. We want to move from confusion to clarity. We want them to go, oh, I'm not quite sure too. That's exactly what I need. Sounds like you're going to solve my problem. So move them from here over to here. There's a very simple framework that we go through to do this, to have better conversations and better outcomes. There's only 4 steps that you need to know. Does anyone know what these 4 steps are? Okay, wonderful. Shall I tell you? The 4 steps. So here's the frame. We get permission to ask questions. And then we ask enough questions to really understand what the person is about, what they really need. They tell us what they want, but what do they actually really need to make that decision? And once they've made that, we've understood enough, okay, this is what you're saying you want, this is what we understand that you need, then the next step is we put out our offer. So we've listened to them, we've heard, so here is the ideal. And then finally, we close it. So we say, here's what we offer, how about it, should we go ahead? And ideally, what do they say? Yes. What do they sometimes say? Right, that's what we're going to work out. So we're just going to go through these a little bit deeper, one by one. So the person who controls the conversation is the person who's asking the questions. But hands up, who likes to be controlled? Not you, Monique, you keep your hand down. So we use permission to guide this. So if they say, how much do you charge? What are you after? And we can say, good question. Before I get into that, is it okay if I ask you a few questions first to make sure I'm putting the right thing in front of you? So we're getting permission there. The direction of a conversation comes from the questions, not the answers. Make sense? Where else can we apply this sort of technique of getting permission? And so we can do it with our team. Okay, before I listen to your idea, is it okay if I ask you a couple of questions first? With clients, with prospects, with friends, or even with our family. So now who's more interested in listening? Now we know you're going to learn how to get your partner to agree with you all the time. Good? Sound good? Perfect. So yeah, the next stage is clarifying the need. If we just ask the same questions that our competitors or other people are asking, it's always going to come down to price or the cost of doing something. If they've got nothing better to judge us, they're going to always go to cost or the price of doing something. All customers, all people are shopping for a combination of best price, best quality, and best service. But which one do they default to if we forget to talk to them about price, quality, or service? Price, right? You can see it yourself. You go to buy a microwave, and you walk into the shop, and they've got all these microwaves, and you go, they look the same. Do they cook the chicken? Yes. Okay, sweet. Well, maybe the cheapest one's probably makes sense to buy that one, right? Until we find out there's a quality issue. This one creates fires in your house. It burns your chicken and it burns your house down. So don't buy that one. And then this one takes 10 hours to cook your chicken instead of an hour. So we don't want that one. So unless we start talking about these other areas, our focus just naturally tends to be on price or the cost of doing something. A lot of people still get this wrong, where they ask those basic questions, but they don't uncover the real need. So why do you want this microwave? Well, I want it to cook chicken. Okay, how important is speed in cooking a chicken? It needs to be done within an hour. Right, okay, so you want this version, which is a little bit more expensive than the one that burns your house down, but it's exactly what you're looking for. You see the difference there? Because I've uncovered those real needs. We also, so for example, in your line of work, we want to know what's most important to you in a quote. So is it about the accuracy? So do we need the program to make sure that everything's going to be accurate? Is it urgent? Or do we have time to plan this out? Have you worked on something like this with somebody else before, so we know what you liked or what you didn't like? So we're uncovering by asking these kind of questions. Then when we've asked them, then the trick is we repeat that back to them. So what you've told me is that you need your chicken cooked within an hour without burning your house down and for a reasonable price. Have I got that right? And when we say, have I got that right, what do we want them to say? Yes. Or that's right. If we hear those magic words, then we know we're on the right track. And what are they thinking? If we've told them exactly back what they've told us, what are they thinking? You understand them. We understand them. Yeah, we've listened. We're empathetic. So we're not trying to sell them a round thing to go into their square hull. There's a lot of metaphors going on tonight. There's a microwave, there's hulls. Bear with me. But once we've done this, our customer is ready to hear about our solutions. Now, we don't have to, so there's something to be said about being very clear with your expertise and saying, here's the thing, let's go. But a good idea is to present 3 clear options in a sales process. So we might have an economy version, a standard version, and then a premium version. Why do we do that? Why does that kind of work? Yeah, people feel like they have choice. People feel like they have options. So what do they feel like they have that starts with C and rhymes with control? Control. So they feel like now they're in the driver's seat. They're the one making the decision. We're not tricking them with our sales skills that we're learning here. So we can say, you know, here's 3 things, 3 ways we could help. Which one suits you the best? Now, where a lot of business owners get this really, really wrong is, what did I say, the economy standard premium, is they make the economy version the cheapest one and often the cheapest margin one. So it's stuff that they do, they don't really want to do it, they don't really want to sell it. And then the problem here is if everyone buys it, you've got a bunch of customers you don't want. They've got your worst performing product or service. You've got your worst razor thin margin product or service here. So my advice to people in this space is make that your biggest margin. It might be your lowest charge, it might be the lowest revenue that's coming in, but it's going to be your highest profit margin. So we can strip out a bunch of services for that lower price. Does that make sense? So if everyone bought it, we're still stoked. We're still really, really happy because we're making a good fat margin with it. So we can buy that extra pie on the way home, extra coffee, so we don't have to cheat the system. We can buy the coffee ourselves because we've made a good margin by putting that in that sort of basic offering. Does that make sense? Wonderful. Then we want to seal the deal. I think this is really important, that whenever we give a quote, a proposal, or a pitch, we make it very clear what the next steps look like. So rather than just giving them a price and a bunch of materials, we're saying once you do this, here's what's going to happen. And we might use dates, we might use a Gantt chart. Everyone likes a Gantt chart. We might use a program, we might use a spreadsheet, dots, different colors. We want to paint the future so that the person feels comfortable in taking the next step, because they know what the next step is. Often they get given a one piece of paper, here's what we're going to do and here's the price, and you know, what's next? How does it work? I'm not quite sure. Let me look at what these other people are offering me as well. So I'm really big on this. Tell them what the future looks like when we get to this point. So great, that's wonderful, John. I've learned all these cool things, microwaves, posts going in different holes. But what if we get to this point and they don't say yes? So in your world, what kind of objections do you get the most? Which again, it could just be trying to get an idea over the line with a manager or with colleagues. What do you often hear? Say that again. Price is too high. Price is too high. Okay, very common. Too complicated. Yep, I can't think about that. Yeah, what else? Take you too long. Yep, time. What else? Tried it before, didn't work. Yep, cool. Again, if we're using this to try to get our partner to let us go out on a Saturday night, they might say, you came home messy last time, so you can't do that again. So we can use these and all these things, and again, there's often an objection. An objection, a lot of people think the sales process runs up until that fourth step, and then they would get an objection, they go, okay, well, it didn't work, and they sort of go home. The objection is pretty much the starting point, and it's a sign that the person is still thinking. So they've thought about what you've put in front of them, but they're still thinking about it, because they're going, well, it's going to cost too much, it's going to take too long. They can't see the future. We haven't solved the problem in their mind yet. So our job is to unpack what's behind it. And so this is where we cycle back to our permission question. Would it be okay to ask what's holding you back? Would it be okay to ask, what did we miss? Would it be okay to ask, if you said it's too long, how long is too long? Would it be okay to ask, well, if I was too messy when I came home last time, what would a little bit less messy look like? What would be okay? So let's spend some time here, because again, it's another opportunity to gain permission to ask questions. We're not trying to solve anything yet. the power of this stuff, and the reason we should spend some time learning and listening and doing this, and again, sorry, as Carsten said, really commend you for coming out on is it Thursday? Thursday evening in the traffic and the cold. I'm a big believer in learning before earning. And so learning will always take us to that next step, and that's where the earning sort of happens. So learning this stuff, if we can convert 10% more clients, and we can put our prices up 10% and get them over the line, then that's going to put an extra 21% of revenue on our top line. So if you're $1 million business, now you're a $1.21 million business if you can convert an extra 10% at 10% higher prices. So it's worth it. It's worth going through this. As I said, we don't want to solve this yet. And we've got a method to go past this called the isolation move. And it sits right at the end of our four-frame system. Four-frame system? What were those 4 points again? What was the first one? What was the second one? What was the third one? What was the fourth one? Seal the deal, yeah, get it over the line. Good one. So the isolation move sits at the end of that one. So this is a typical conversation when objections aren't handled correctly. Can you read that, or would you like me to read it out? Okay, I'll read it out. So how about it? I'm not going to do this all the time, I promise. Not sure I can afford it. We can be flexible. I'll get my partner to look at it. But you said it was your decision. Oh, I'll get back to you. Who's been in that kind of situation before? All the time. So we think we've solved something, and another one pops up. What's this called? Whack-a-mole. Yes. Has anyone been in this kind of situation before? Frustrating? Yep. Yeah, it's like trying to catch like a jellyfish or something, like it just keeps squirming out of your hand. They're supposed to just land in our lap. It's supposed to be easy, but they squirm and they slide around. So how do we fix it? I've got to move. So how about it? Not sure I can afford it. So if we put that aside, then we're basically good to go. If we fix that, then we're good to go. Is that right? Yeah. Great. Well, let's sort this out, and then let's move forward. What's actually missing here, there's a really powerful thing that is very, very important when we're having these kind of discussions that isn't here. And it goes after, when they say that, we say something first. Does anybody know? The options, yep. Do you think we should fight them or agree with them? Agree with them. So they don't want to think that they're crazy. We want to agree with them, make them go, that's valid. So they say, I'm not sure if I can afford it. And we say, you're right. It's a lot of money. We're talking about a $100,000 project here. It is a lot of money. And so if we agree with them, does their guard go up or come down? Come down. What if they said, not sure if I can afford it, go, geez, you must be pretty poor. It's only 100 grand. Oh. And that's when they're kind of, ready to fight us or something. Don't do that part. So we say, you're right. It's $100,000. It is a lot of money. I get it. Now, if we could sort that out, if we could work out how we could afford it, are we ready to go? But what if this happens? So how about it? I'm not sure if I can afford it. Well, that's right. $100,000. It's a lot of money, isn't it? But if we put that aside, we're ready to go. No, I need to do something else. So now what? What do we do? we just keep isolating. We just keep isolating. So essentially, think like you've got a whiteboard or a piece of paper and you've written down affordability. And then we go, so how about it? Not sure if I can afford it. I get it, 100 grand. It's a lot of money, for sure. Now, if we solve that, if we worked out the $100,000 problem, are we good to go? Well, now I need to run it past my partner. Okay, that makes sense, totally. It's a big decision. So $100,000, it's a very big decision. We need to make sure you're aligned. If we sort that out, are we good to go? And yeah, okay, great. So we need to sort out the affordability issue, get the partner taken care of, and boom, we've got $100,000. What haven't we done yet? We haven't closed the deal yet. How come? We haven't solved the problems yet. All we've done is a very clever thing, and we've written some things down on a piece of paper and then made them say yes. So we need to solve those problems. There are a couple of common objections. We lose a lot of sales at the end. You know, people are nodding, and then we go, and it's $100,000, and let's go, and they go, oh, $100,000. A lot of people, because is it generally their money, or is it their company's money, or the project's money, or the project's budget? It might not even be their money, right? But the person you're dealing with will have their own individual money hang-ups. We just all tend to. We might it's just the way we kind of operate. We think, oh, 100 grand, I'm not sure. I need to look at some other options to feel comfortable in making my decision. We know, again, we're good at what we do, but some people just have an aversion to spending that kind of money or making a decision with that kind of money. So we need to get them over this hurdle. I've got worksheets here, which are not ideal on a screen, but I'm happy to send them out to you at the end of this when we get there. Or I could even send them to you and you could pass them along. So the money is the obvious one. Again, it's worth learning this stuff because it could put 21% potentially on top of our revenue. So how much is too much, or how far apart are we? And then this is an idea where you can do a reduction to the ridiculous, where we divide the difference over time. So for example, if they say $90 is too much, then it's $1 a day for 3 months. Can't you afford $1 a day? I'm sure you can afford $1 a day. We can sort that out. Or it's 20 coffees, all that kind of making it sound like a different thing or moving it around, and it's called a reduction to the ridiculous. Another example, so the savings, you're going to spend 100 grand, but the savings are supposed to be about 500 grand over the lifetime of this project. So it's going to pay for itself, and over time, you're going to be better off. So we're demonstrating the value of what we're doing here. We'd rather demonstrate value than drop our price, because it's so easy to go, oh, 100 grand, I could do it for 80. And now we've lost our margin. We've lost our power. So we want to demonstrate the value rather than dropping our price. And when you say you can't afford it, is it more than what you wanted to spend, or is it more that you don't see the value for the money? And so that's an important differentiation as well. Do they have the budget? They told us they had 100 grand. So is it that they don't see the value? And do we need to go back to showing them that, remember, this project is going to bring $500,000 of value over time? Cool. So again, we still need to make sure what the next steps are. And they say, okay, it's going to be $500,000 of value, remember? And so here's what the next steps look like. If we're ready to go ahead, we're going to sign today, this happens, this happens, this happens. So we're painting the future for them again. Cool? So money is a typical one. What's another typical objection that sort of comes up? Starts with T and it rhymes with I'm. Time objections. This is where we can bring up the cost of waiting as well. So this says, so what did we say? Some of the costs for not having these solved or sorted right now. What are the costs of not doing this? So there's a hole in a big major thoroughfare, and so how much is that costing the taxpayer or the company or whoever over time that we're not getting this solved? So we need to solve it because remember, there's $500,000 of value sitting at the other end. So we need to work out what are the costs of of not doing it at this time. And I've got to run it past my partners. So this is how often does this happen? I need to ask my partner. Quite a lot, eh? Even if you're going to buy a microwave. You go, oh shit, I better ask my partner how much chicken he wants to be cooking. So a really good thing is to say, yeah, of course, you need to ask him. What are some of the queries you think he would have? Oh, he'd probably be worried about the cost. Right. What would you say about that? And now you're getting them to be on your team. Because when they say, I want to ask my partner, they're on their team against you. And if we can flip it and say, what would you say to him about the cost? Oh, he'd say this and I would have to say that. Yeah, good one. So now we're on a team and we're coaching this person to make these decisions or to sort this out. And often we can say, well, they're not here. Who's got the most information? Who's the one most likely to pull the trigger? Does he always wear the pants? Do you always let him make the decision? Oh, no. I'm going to pull my pants up. I'm going to wear my big boy pants today or big girl pants and make the decision. Does that make sense? Finally, we have a delay one. Quite common, eh? We'll come back to it. We're going to do it later. And so often we say, I need to think about it. I need to go away and think about it. And so it doesn't make time to make a decision. It takes information. So what haven't we covered that makes this clear for you? So we're going back now and just asking them questions. The longer we wait, the more information, but it's usually 2 or 3 things that are going to help you make this decision. What are they? And so we're getting them to talk us through whatever those concerns are that are just sort of sitting back there in their heads. And well, what if we came up with the top 2 or 3 things to focus on? What would they be? And okay, so they're really important, aren't they? And the longer this goes on, the more costs. So we're really exploring the problem and agitating the issues, the current issues, that if they don't make a decision now, those pain points are going to continue. There's still going to be the big hole in this major thoroughfare. They're still going to burn their house down with the wrong microwave. And a really good thing to move people forward is, what could we do to just make a start? So if you don't want to spend the whole 100 grand now, tell you what, give us 10,000 and we'll make an inroad and we'll do the first step. And how about that? And so all we want to do is get the first step, because once we've done that, once they've paid us some money, then it's usually easy to get the rest of that 90K. Does that make sense? What's been helpful so far, and what's kind of landed for you guys? And I'm not going to speak until you speak, so someone better speak.
My key one was more than time, there is enough information to make a decision.
That's a good one, eh? Because it's true, right? It's not time we need, it's information. Great, thank you. Anybody else? What landed for you?
For me,
Oh, sorry.
for me, the negativity of the other
The,
Agreeing with them and then turning it around.
yeah. Because then we're empathetic, right? We're not adversarial. We're not fighting each other. There's that whole. I remember watching this on TV that you don't want to be sitting across the desk from someone you're having these conversations. You kind of want to be sitting next to them, and we're working on something together. We're solving a problem together, rather than I'm trying to fight you or win, or you're trying to win. What was your other one?
My concern was when trying to pitch a sale and then asking for more time, and when you essentially want them to bring on your side, at what point or what's the boundary of them feeling it being too intrusive to make the decision for them, or trying to look for make them take the decision, right? Take the decision, like what's the line?
Yeah, when you know to walk away,
Mm.
you're trying to say, well, what have I done too much? It's actually taught me I don't like salespeople. I've had people on the phone and I've said, I'll speak to my partner because I just don't want to buy what they're selling me. So, yeah.
And you don't want to buy what they're selling you, or you don't like the way that or the approach.
Well, I've already told them no once, so I say no once. But,
Yeah. Because there's a real difference.
get it.
There's a real difference from, what I'm not trying to do is get you to buy the thing that you don't need. Just give me some money. Like, that's 80s pressure sales tactics. What we're trying to do here is just help the person make a decision. And so they're, potentially in a pitch situation, and they're there to buy. They've got $100,000 in their pocket. They're going to give it to someone. We want it to give them to us. But yeah, please don't chase people down the street going, here's a microwave, here's a microwave. That's not tonight's takeaway. Anything else?
One thing you haven't mentioned really is trust.
So the good one, that's a really important one. How do we build trust? And yeah, I'm asking you, like, how do we build trust? How do we build trust? Say that again. Did you say connection?
Connection, yeah.
Yeah.
Understanding that, getting into some page.
Yeah. I think having their best interests at heart. I think they're painting the future, and here's what it's going to look like, and here are the steps. I think that's a big part of it. They're going to see what the journey is, but the whole way, by asking the questions and the right questions, we should be building that up as we go through. But yeah, thank you. That is really important, and it pretty much wraps around what we're trying to do. Because again, it's not trustworthy if we're chasing you down the street trying to sell a dodgy microwave that could burn your house down. That would be terrible. But
I'm a major sponsor here, so they built the best microwave.
right, there you go.
You're safe.
You're safe. So I'm just going to give you some takeaways. And then I'll open up to some more questions. But some of us, we're going to likely be more confident in different areas of this sort of process that we've gone through. And there'll be other areas where we kind of need some work. So, it's about working out where your strengths are and where your potential weaknesses are along this kind of process. You don't need to be salesy. And this is what we're sort of landing on with that trust piece and selling you something that you don't want. We want to focus on being curious. Curious, what are you after? What are the outcomes you're looking for? What are the problems that you've had in the past? Being helpful. Right, so you don't want this one because it's very dangerous for your house and the whole apartment building. We want to be confident. How do we get confident in this kind of world or environment? Practice, 100%. We've got to do it. We've got to do it more and more and more and more and more, and then we become more confident. And we want to be clear. So rather than lots of words and lots of talking, we want to go, so you're looking for this and you don't want that. Is that right? Yes. Great. Here's our product and it does this and it doesn't do that. Would you like it? Yes. And when people, trust us, they follow our lead, and so we want to be making it easier by going through these kind of steps. Sales is a cornerstone of successful business. So if we can't convert, then we're not going to be able to grow. Like, it's really a powerful and important part of what we do. Again, if I'll send you a copy of the worksheet, or if I can send it to Nick, that would be even easier. But if you're a business owner and you'd like to be getting more out of your team or your customers or your business, then please, let's have a chat. And I've got a QR code too, and I've got an email address, and I've got a website. It's amazing. We're in the future. Thank you very much for your attention. I really enjoyed it, and good to see you again. Thank you.